Hafid, everyone, and welcome to another edition of PDN's Convos with the Candidates. I'm joined this time with Senator Chris Duenas and with Victor Gaza, both running for a seat in the 38th Guam Legislature. We did a toss, and the Senator is going to start off with his introduction. Go ahead, Senator.
Hafid Guam and Nestor, thank you to the PDN and for having us here and allowing us this opportunity. Hafid to the people of Guam. My name is Chris Duenas. I'm currently serving you in the 37th Guam Legislature. I bring to the table 16 years of private sector experience, particularly in the tourism industry. Small business owner, charter fishing boat. I have a captain's license with a submersibles endorsement. And that's what I did for the first 16 years of my life. I was fortunate to serve two wonderful governors, Governor Eddie Calvo and Governor Felix Camacho, as the Director of Department of Youth Affairs, Director of Land Management, and also the Guam Housing Corporation. I've also served now, I'm in my fourth term at the legislature. It's been a real pleasure to serve the people of Guam in government. My key highlights that I'd like to talk about, one of the favorite things that I've been able to do as your senator is I introduced legislation that created the Invasive Species Council to fight against invasive species on Guam. I also introduced recently legislation to restore the $20 million that was given for pay raises in Guam Department of Education back to fixing and repairing our schools and maintaining our schools. You know, I worked with my Republican colleagues as we led the effort to make sure in the 23rd budget cycle, 2023, that we got $30 million to be able to help GMH with their vendor payables that were way overdue. You know, these are some of the things that I've worked on, and right now I'm working on a piece of legislation, for the multi-agency unified law enforcement group to try to fight this drug epidemic. These are just a few things that I've done in my time in public service. And so today I'm going to enjoy answering questions from Nestor and talking to my good friend Vic. And once again, ask you to help me to get into the 38th Guam Legislature. Thank you.
All right. Vic, your introduction, please.
Hafid Guam. My name is Vic Gaza, and I am a local boy born and raised. I graduated from Father Duenas. I have a degree in business and communications from the University of Hawaii. I have 25 years of public and private experience. I've worked for 3 different senators as a policy analyst. I've worked as a deputy director for the Department of Land Management under Felix Camacho. And I spent most of my career in the private sector, working in middle management and management positions. I've also been a small business owner. So I really do understand the decisions that the legislature makes and the government makes and how it affects our people in the private sector and our business community. I ask you for your vote this upcoming November 5th.
All right, thank you. So, Senator, as mentioned earlier, our format is kind of like giving each of you guys an opportunity to name a top issue that you want to pursue in the 38th Guam Legislature. So what's your top issue and how would you address it?
So, Nestor, I think that without question, we're a dysfunctional community right now due to the opioid and drug epidemic. I think that we've got many things to work on. But I think if we don't tackle this issue and we don't get, stronger interdiction of drugs by making sure that we really build out what's already planned for, the 100% X-ray of all containers coming in at the Port Authority of Guam, if we don't increase quickly the drug dogs, that are trained to detect, if we don't make a stronger agreement with the post office to have random inspections with those dogs to try to stop drugs and the flow of drugs from coming in, and if we don't get stronger law enforcement in the community to keep our people safe and to get the massive amount of methamphetamine off the streets that's there, I really think that that ripping away of the fabric of our community really is anything else I think really pales in comparison. We got billions of dollars now in our government in terms of resources and in terms of funds. We got some industries that are lagging like tourism, and I hope we will talk about that as we go forward. But getting a hold and control of this drug epidemic is something that I will spend a great deal of time in the next term if reelected.
All right. Vic, your top issue and how would you address it?
Well, thank you for the question. I agree with the senator. Obviously the big 3 are always our top concerns, right? Anytime I've ran before. Anytime anyone runs, we have 3 concerns. We have our hospital, we have education, and we have our drug epidemic, right? I think for me, stepping in, if I'm given the opportunity, I'd work on the hospital, right? The hospital needs to be here to cater to our people for at least the next 10 years until we decide where we're going to build the new hospital. And we need to really make a commitment to get people in there and work with our governor, work with our senators, work with the hospital to every day chip away at this problem, because we need to get it up to standard, right? We need to take care of our people. We need to make sure they have a place to go to get care, and it's obvious. We have one hospital. We have GRMC, but it's a private hospital. But we have our one public hospital that needs care, right? It's in critical care right now, and we need to focus on it. So that's something I would do right away.
How specifically would you address that? Obviously,
Well,
it needs funding, right?
Right.
I mean, that's
funding
always
is funding is one thing, right? But throwing money, and I think the senator is going to agree. I've heard him say it many times. You throw money at something doesn't solve it, right? We need to really be committed, right? And I hate to use this word task force, right? Because it's been used. I've worked in the legislature. We've used it, but it really does take a commitment from somebody from Adelup, somebody from the legislature, somebody from the hospital, sitting down every day working on what are we going to do today, right? What problem are we going to solve today? Are we going to get the new air conditioning in? Are we going to get the air vac in? Whatever it is, we need to make a commitment so that in the next year or 2 years, we've really created a stable hospital for our people. And that's what I would do day one, right? Of course, all the other problems we have too need addressing. But I think that right now I have a friend who's in the ICU and he had to go to GRMC. Our hospital needs to be there for our people. Mm-hmm. It's a no-brainer. Yep. It's a no-brainer.
All right. Senator, you got a second issue you'd like to tackle in the 38th?
Yeah, so, I completely agree with what Vic is saying, and, he's right on point. The hospital is absolutely right up there. I agree with what he's saying in terms of it's almost similar to what I'm trying to do with, the multi-agency law enforcement group. And that is, it's a day-to-day, all hands on deck operational thing that has to be gone through. And, the one thing I want to say is, particularly the two areas that I want to talk about that I think that we've failed to build consensus on is in the area of our medical community and our healthcare and the hospital in particular. And the other area really is on a new vision for tourism. And Governor Gutierrez is doing the best he can with what he's got, and he's working hard every day. He demonstrates that he's the kind of guy that's out there and doing what we're talking about. I think the thing is that we've seen so many businesses that have shuttered that haven't come back. And we've got to figure this out. It can't just be the end. It has to be an area where we go in and work with the industry professionals and step up our game. And I say this because, the leg of our economy right now, the federal spending, it is going to level out at some point, and we're not going to continue to see these 30, 40, 50, $100 million surpluses. All the while, we have this other, leg that's cracked basically on our stool. And we have to do it now so that when those revenues plateau, we're bringing back, really our key other pillar of our economy outside of economic diversification. We can maybe talk about that in a little bit. So I think what I'm trying to say really is that we need a legislature, I think, I believe, and Vic, I know, would be this kind of person. We need a legislature in the 38th that is truly committed to consensus building and not trying to be individuals and maybe outdo each other or be selective about what bills hit the floor or the like. I think Guam is at such a crossroads. We need a legislature that can kind of put some differences aside and get the work done. And I think when it comes to our economy, particularly our tourism economy, and fixing the hospital that exists now and building a new hospital, you're going to need consensus builders and people that are willing to put in the work.
Right. Vic, a second issue that you'd like to tackle?
I agree with the senator, right? Tourism has always been our number one economic industry, and I've worked with you when you worked at Carlotta, and I worked at Tony Lemarinas, and I was in charge of his tourism committee at that time, and it's going to be our number one economic engine for a long time, right? Guam is Guam, right? We need to diversify it. We need to redefine it. He's right. The former Governor Carl Gutierrez is doing a brilliant job at it. I think if our younger people are now coming out, they're the new entrepreneurs. They're starting their apparel businesses. They're starting their foodie businesses. These are the things that are going to help diversify our economy, because our tourism industry, because our tourism are now going to come here. Tourists are going to come here and enjoy these new types of businesses that are beyond me, right? I'm older now. I don't get some of those things, but those are the things that are happening now with. So we need to create a truly business-friendly government, open our arms, get around these young people, give them all the help they can get to open their doors. And the senator's right. I mean, people ask me all the time, what's the biggest thing you can do to get your work done in the legislature? And it's going to take cooperation. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in order to lead, you got to step back, right?
It's true.
You got to let someone else lead, and you got to push them. Because progress is progress. And right now, we're stumped on some issues, some major issues, and we need progress.
All right. We've got to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more with our conversation with Vic Gaza and Senator Chris Duenas on PDN's Convos with the Candidates. Please stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to PDN's Convos with the Candidates. I'm joined by Senator Chris Duenas and with Vic Gaza. I think we left off with Vic, so start again with you, Senator. You got another issue that you want to address come the 38th Guam Legislature.
I do. So one of the things that I really pushed, and there was a bill that was stuck in committee again in the 36th Guam Legislature, and I went. It was Senator Joseph Augustine's bill to make sure that we got the authorization for those cables to come in. That was another land bill, right? And I understand that there was a lot of back and forth to make sure that we got the proper, revenue for what we should be getting for the Chamorro Land Trust and for, undersea cables,
okay.
yeah. And so, but any delays and now that's moving forward. That is exactly what we need to be doing on Guam to ensure that we're diversifying our economy. GTA is doing a bang-up job. All the telecoms right now really are well-positioned to ensure that we can now look at the possibility of bringing in a Google, bringing in some of these other businesses that really could set up here and transform our economy. The other issue that is associated with this, Nestor, is I think it was well-intentioned about 6 or 7 legislatures back. But this issue of the 5-year restriction and coming back to the legislature for authorization for land use, I think has really, really put a major, major impediment to our economic development. The main thing is the seaport and the airport. We have a great opportunity, Nestor, for bonded warehousing. I give you an example. When I was in the Camacho administration, the Department of Labor under its economic development segment, actually we have annual conferences and go to D.C. and I was part of a team with Maria Connolly that ended up inviting the number 2 guy from Nike to Guam, and they ended up establishing a through port from Guam because they could get their very expensive tennis shoe that's always coming on market, right, and working with the pro athletes who sell these, right, and because Guam is U.S., they can bypass those LA chokeholds and everything else, and even sometimes on the air cargo freight. This is just one example. There's so many other examples on air and seaport that we're missing out on right now because of that restriction. Now, I know it's well-intentioned to be careful because we want to make sure the kind of investment and development we get, is really tailored to Guam, right? But one thing we can do is go to these organizations like the port and the seaport and say, give us specific areas where you already know the investment's there, your top 3 levels of investment. And we can pass legislation that exempts the 5-year, but it's tailored to those industries to where we know you can't go outside of that. If you did, you need legislative approval. And, I tell you, the airport GM right now is very responsive to that. They said that's what we need. And so really economic diversification is something that we really need to fast track, as I was talking about earlier with the cables and our need to rebuild our tourism industry. And so that's, I think, if I'm reelected, that's going to be one of the first things I convene, a group on.
All right. Vic, your next one.
I'd have to go back to the senators on the fight on drugs, right? The drug epidemic here is completely out of control. It's touched every segment of our society. I don't think I can talk to anybody right now and they haven't been touched by somebody or they know somebody who's been touched by methamphetamine. Fentanyl is now coming through our shores. It's almost a state of emergency, right? Our hospitals in that state, our drug epidemic is in that state. We need to really commit to these problems, right? And it's going to take a commitment from the administration, from the legislature, from our police force, our airport, our customs, our federal partners. We need to really work together and get control of this thing because it's taking over our island, and it doesn't matter where you live anymore. It doesn't matter how much money you make. You're going to be touched, right? Because if you go out and you go to a store, something could happen to you. You go out in the community. We need to get our community safe again, and it's going to take the community ourselves. In the old days, we watched our neighborhoods, right? We watched our neighbors. Nowadays, it's a little different. Sometimes we don't know who our neighbors are. But it's going to take a community and government to push forward and get control of this. We're not going to solve it in one silver bullet, but we need to work together to get control of this problem.
Yeah, the myth pervasiveness is, you can tell from the prices. I mean,
It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's so cheap right now, and the senator talks about it, and the legislature talk about it all the time. The prices are going up on everything, but drugs are going down, right? We need to get a control of this. Methamphetamine is a drug that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can get over very easily. I have a family member who suffered with it, and thank God they got over it, but it took a lot of care. It took a lot of tough love, things that our family didn't think we would ever have to do.
Correct.
But we did it, and we need to get our community is small. We need to take care of this problem right now.
Yeah. Senator, another issue that you'd like to address in the 38th?
I'd like to work with Vic on this, and I'm hoping he might agree on this. The government budgeting process, I think, leaves a lot to be desired. I don't fault the chairman particularly. I know he does the best that he can. The one thing that I really would like to see is the governor submits the budget every January, and that's the first shot for the legislature to take a look at this. I've been a little bit perplexed by having these, public hearings later and towards the summer and then coming into August to where we're really kind of just scrambling to pass this budget, and it seems like there's so much disagreement towards the end. And I think what that's emulating from is not having earlier hearings and paying more specific attention to what the budget needs are. I don't think one public hearing or even just two public hearings, in particular for some of these large agencies like the hospital and education and law enforcement and others, and really starting with the key areas, right? If elected in the 38th Guam legislature, and have partners like Vic and others, I really hope that I'm going to make calls for the fact that we start hearings in February. And we convene the Special Economic Service. We get a picture of where we are and where we're going. We bring folks from the Chamber of Commerce and others down from the private sector to talk to us about what this government budget means and what our spending means, and then start those hearings early. So it's really that we do three things in the budget and in the legislature. Really, we provide a budget to operate the government of Guam. We confirm appointments and we pass laws. But the budget's the biggest thing we do. And I would like to see a legislature that really spends at least 50% of its time discussing the budget and the effects that it has for all the agencies and the effects that it has for the taxpayers and our business environment.
Okay, Vic, really quickly, you got a fourth issue?
I absolutely got to ride on the senator again, right? We talk about a balanced budget, performance-based budgeting, right? And he talks about this all the time. But in order to do a performance-based budgeting situation, you need information up front, and we need accurate information. So I completely agree with the senator that you start budgeting hearings early, we get all the information accurately, and the OPA can do an audit right away. There's a lot of stumps going, there's a lot of roadblocks right now. They're working with budgets that they don't know if it's accurate or not accurate. I watched some of the hearings. I was there for a little bit, and of course you can't really create a budget that way if you don't know what you're really truly dealing with, right? And performance-based budgeting is key. It would be awesome if we could do that, but we need the information up front early so that we can make those decisions.
Yeah, arguably, the single most important job that the legislature does
budget.
is to pass a budget.
Absolutely. Look at the University of Guam right now. Yeah. I mean, we have to once again relook at how we're subsidizing that operation, because they're on par now with GCC in terms of the construction and the buildings and the School of Engineering, business and finance. I mean, they're really on the move. And nursing's expanding. They're up to 50 nurses, per cycle now. And we're not. If we raise tuition, we send kids away. So subsidizing that, that university really is something that we're going to have to look at very closely.
All right, Senator, 45 seconds, your closing argument. Why should they vote for you for 38th Guam Legislature?
Thanks once again, Nestor and PDN. Folks, I hope you've been able to glean a few insights on not only what I've been able to do as your senator and as a director under a couple of governors, but also what my plans are going forward and how I'd like to serve once again in the 38th Guam Legislature. I don't plan on making this a career. I really pretty much just want to get this one more term under my belt and hoping for a majority with guys like Vic to be able to show what we can do with a little bit more authority, and I'm hoping that you'll give me that opportunity. My name is Chris Duenas. I am number 8 on the Republican side of the ballot. Si Diyos masi, maraming salamat po, and thank you very much.
All right, Vic, your closing remarks.
Well, thank you. First of all, Nestor, PDN, thank you for the senator for being here with me as well. My name is Vic Gaza once again. We have an important choice to make leading up to November 5th. I truly believe that this election is going to be a defining election for our island. I didn't expect to be here one more time running. I thought I was done with this, but I have a fear. I have a fear that I have a 22-year-old son who may not have an island or have a choice to make to live here. I want him to I want him to have a job. I want him to have a career here and raise a family here. That's why I'm here. I use the 25 years of public and private experience to offer you as your senator, and I hope that I have a chance to work with this gentleman right here. You need people that are going to work together, period. That is the key to success in any business and in the legislature, in government. It's people that are willing to work together, be open-minded, to work together to get things done. Thank you.
Senatorial candidates, Victor Gaza and Chris Duenas. I'm Nestor Lecanto. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next time on Convos with the Candidates.